So, how's your inner child doing? Yeah, me too. Welcome to the wild. I'm Cypress. Today, I'm implementing a ritual for healing the early childhood version of you. I'm using it specifically to remove early resource blocks that have directly affected my relationship with money, but you can tailor this process to any problem you're working on, which traces back to your childhood and early development. In fact, you may want to revisit this ritual periodically as time goes by and you develop new clarity on old trauma. This is not my first trip back to visit my younger self, and I'm betting it won't be the last. Shall we get started? The first step in this process could be the longest and the hardest. Sit down, think back, and list all the early trauma moments you can remember. Write them out, each one on individual scraps of paper. When we were very little, we were supposed to share all of our toys. My brothers didn't play very gently with things like fragile toy horses, but when you're forced to share with people who break your things, you learn to tolerate it from people you're married to. If your memories that far back are hazy or blocked, be creative, perhaps listing exact feelings that come up. Depending on how you deep dive, this step may take weeks as you can dig deeper with repeated forays and as your brain resorts the files. It was always expected that my brothers would play sports. I wasn't allowed to. Girls don't do sports. I worked on my list for several weeks before deciding I was ready to write all the things out on the scraps of paper. I used to love going to the zoo. Heck, I still do. I always wanted to feed the goats. They had these vending machines with goat pellets. We never got to feed the goats. It was too expensive. I thought all the other kids there must be super rich. Oh, sometime after first grade, we were in the zoo. We checked out the petting zoo portion of it, and I could read, and the vending machine said 25 cents. Too expensive? I could find that in the couch cushions. And just a side note for clarity, if the examples I'm sharing don't seem that traumatizing, well, I'm filtering out the really ugly stuff. I'm sure you can extrapolate on how dirty my laundry is without me airing the worst of it. Oh, Boy Scouts. No trauma there. I did get to sign up for brownies, briefly. But they asked for money at every single meeting, and there was never any actual scouting. It was like field trips and home ec. Why is it called Girl Scouts if there's no scouting? Okay, step 2 is to prepare yourself and your altar for the ritual. I strongly suggest a full self-cleanse and anointing since this particular ritual is so self-focused and purgative. You'll also need a few tools and supplies. An altar, of course. Be sure you can work at it comfortably for some time. Some object representing your younger self. This could be an old photo, a childhood toy, or simply a candle for focus. Normally, I would go for the candle. I would just tap into my child self internally in my mind's eye, but that just doesn't carry as well for the camera. This doll is one of my earliest toys, one that always seemed to need comfort, cuddling, and reassurances. Yes, you could have a psychological field day with that, but that's exactly what makes this a good choice for me to embody my child self. We'll need a burn-safe dish large enough to hold all the paper scraps, unless you decide to just build a fire, in which case it doesn't have to be burn-safe. A flame source. I'm gonna just make a sacred fire outdoors. A fireplace would also be ideal so long as you clean the ashes out first, and you will be collecting the ashes from the ritual for disposal as well. Of course, we need the scraps of trauma paper. Bring an offering of love and nurture for your younger self, something your child self would find meaningful. I've chosen to use a high-quality juice. There's pomegranate, mango, and berries in this organic blend. As kids, we only got sugary orange juice, apple juice, and the occasional grape juice. And to this day, juices made from other fruits seem utterly luxurious. And I'm offering some fancy chocolates. Dark, organic, 80% cocoa. We did get candy as kids, but to have truly fancy chocolates in the house was unheard of. Now, would my child self have even liked bitter chocolate? Well, I could really put away those chocolate chips, so I think I'd have been all over it. Finally, I'm offering my child self these quarters, the ones I could have used to feed the goats. Oh, and you'll want some tissues handy. If you do it right, you'll need them. When all is ready and the circle cast, call in whom you'd like to help. Sekhmet has been working with me on a tangentially related project, and I hope she won't mind stepping in here for support and strength. I think her tough mama lion energy is perfect here. Ancient mother, fiercest lion, Lady Sekhmet, grant me thy strength, and I will be whole yet. Goddess, lady, lion, mother, queen, and guardian, like no other, welcome, great one, sit with me. My youngest self wants care from thee. Beyond that, I'm inviting in only my personal guides because this is a private matter and there's no need to call in the 4 quarters and a wide pantheon to broadcast the airing of my oldest of dirty laundry. But for my guides, my personal crap is their business, so it's appropriate to ask for their support. Whew, lucky them. Lo, my guides, my guardians, my grandmothers. Lo, my spirits and familiars. Welcome to my altar. Hold this space with me and witness. Together, we can fix this shit mess. Swearing in ritual. So normally, don't. It's not elevated language. But in the case of calling a spade, the use of a well-placed taboo word is appropriate to call out just how unspeakable or hurtful the wrong was. You can look it up. Swearing has a measurable palliative effect on the brain and body. I will use profanity in deep psyche work to help the soul let go of the hurt. For this reason, I recommend belting such words with gusto. If you are using a candle for focus, light it now. Candle bright, candle sacred, shine thy light on wounds laid naked. You'll want to use different language if you're consecrating the candle to serve as a focus for your younger self. But I'm using this candle as a visual reminder to represent Sekhmet and my guides watching over the sacred work being done here. Now, with the altar space fully activated, read each slip, one at a time. If using a poppet, keep it sitting in your lap through this so your younger self is experiencing it with you. Go back in time for each moment on the scraps to visit self in that moment, to relive it with her or him. Offer support, empathy, comfort, validation. Talk it out. Take your time. Again, have tissues handy. This could get messy. Already, we're only on the second one. For each moment, hold your younger self, rock if need be, nobody's watching, and croon, little child, the first of me, this shit sucks ass, I feel for thee. Repeat as many times as necessary. Don't rush on the consoling. Little child, the first of me, this shit sucks ass, I feel for thee. After working through each slip, deposit it in the burn dish. I recommend taking the time to twist each one up into a tiny little kindling log to both bind the hurt and to facilitate burning later. While twisting, chant, "Stupid hurt, stupid loss. This world's a mess. It's not your fault." I recommend not burning these papers yet because it'll give us an opportunity to repeat the castigation later. And with CPTSD, childhood post-traumatic stress disorder, mind-numbing repetition is key to eventually changing reactionary patterns. And a clarifying note here. This exercise is about naming the hurts and validating the pain they caused, reassuring your child self that what happened was wrong and wasn't fair. This is not about trying to fix the woundings. They happened. You can't rewrite history. You can't make it better. And you don't have to. You only have to validate and comfort that injured child. Sadly, you cannot uninjure her. Things will backfire if you try to insist to your younger self that it's all better now, so buck up. Neither your inner child nor your psyche will respond well to toxic positivity. After all the slips have been added to the burn pile, again, comfort your younger self. Take your time here. Check in. When the moment feels right, ask her or him, is she, he, ready to proceed? What do you think? Should we go burn these? Okay. Let's go burn these. It's important here to give your younger self the agency to decide when to move to the next step. I can't emphasize enough that rushing through this to be efficient or to not overindulge your inner child will backfire. You cannot take the role of impatient, judgy parent here, right? Yes? You are here to empower and support that hypersensitive, over-needy child. I mean, why do you think she got so needy and sensitive in the first place? So just let the kid have what she wants here. This is your psyche at work, not an actual child in the flesh requiring direction and managing. You are not spoiling anyone. You are healing. When both you and your child baby self are ready, burn the pile together. You can just set the pile on fire, but if your situation permits, I'd recommend going through them again, one by one, and adding them each to the fire. A fireplace would be aces for this. Conversely, you could leave the circle open and temporarily adjourn to a fire-safe space outside. For each twisted up slip of paper, chant, "No more want and no more lack, no more watching round my back. No more hurt and no neglect, no more never, mark this fact." After the fire, return to the altar and make an offering to your younger self. Again, choose something that would really resonate with her, him, especially in context to healing these hurts. Because my focus today is money and resource blocks, I'm choosing items of luxury that symbolize everything withheld from my younger self. Again, fancy juice. I mean, I'm not gonna feed wine to a minor. And fancy chocolates. And the quarters, so she can feed those goats. I will leave these coins on the altar for a time, but then carry them around with me and save them for her to decide what impulse indulgence she'd like to spend them on. I'll let my intuition facilitate that communication. Sit and eat and drink with your younger self. In the afterglow of all that purging, tell her, him, about how different the future will be from now on. It's different now. It's gonna stay different now. I got you. Even if your own present sucks ass, you both deserve a better life moving forward. Goddess, grant me peace on earth. No more hardship, want, or dearth. Goddess, grant me what I'm worth. Grant my life be past the worst. Tell your younger self she is safe now because you hold her in your heart and will protect her from all the want, the violence, the neglect, whatever the hurts may have been. Give her love and nurture and tell her you will keep her safe. I realize this looks cheesy as heck, but remember, this doll is just a visual marker for that part of us deep inside that is still there in that childhood reality. When she or he seems content, or at least content for now, thank your gods and guides and helpers for their support. My guides, my guardians, my grandmothers, my spirits, my familiars, thank you for your witness. Lady, Goddess, Mother, Sekhmet, my gratitude for your warding. And finally, close the circle. At a later time, after the fire is cooled, scoop up the ashes and let them go in running water. Since these are the ashes of emotional trauma, it is just and good for the water, which symbolizes emotion, to wash the residue away. I don't want to bury the ashes because that's planting them for regrowth. For that running water, I have a drainage ditch in front of my yard. This should work just fine. As you let the ashes go, repeat. No more want, no more lack. No more watching round my back. No more hurt and no neglect. No more never, mark this fact. And that's the ritual. Again, adapt it for your specific situation and let me know how it goes. Thanks for coming along with me on this process. Your support matters. I will see you in the next video, and until then, keep the magic wild.